Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to your Europe United Draftable franchise mode here in NHL 26. So last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the first round of the playoffs, and unfortunately we lost, which means we have quite the setback this offseason, as we are kind of winding down the series quite a bit. I'm hoping that this team is still able to make the playoffs next year, but there is a chance that we could regress quite a bit because we are likely to be losing some big players this offseason due to UFA status, because obviously guys like Pollock are going to probably be too expensive, which kind of sucks because he's only 26, and I think he's definitely a guy that could win a Norris in the future. He's been a really good defenseman for this team for, as you can see, up to the beginning of his career pretty much. He's came in and done a really good job, but unfortunately we're going to probably have to let him walk just because of the fact we probably can't afford him, and if we do afford him, basically we won't be able to afford a lot of other players. Now, we're probably also going to be likely losing Kuda, I would assume. It depends on, I guess, his demand and all that, but I would assume he's going to ask for probably too much money, which kind of sucks because he's a decent defensive forward, but at this point in time, he's not a hugely great offensive player. Like, he is getting better every single season, but I don't know if he's ever going to become like a 50-plus point player, maybe on some team, but I'm not too sure about us. And then you can see, obviously, we have some RFAs to re-sign like Cutler and Berkowitz. McElhinney is also a pending UFA, so that's a guy I would like to bring back if his asking price isn't too high. But obviously, if it is too high, it would suck to lose him too. But he has been a really good takeaway player for this team, so it would be nice to hold on to him as long as we possibly can. As you can see, over 100 takeaways pretty much every single season of his career. So I'd like to hold on to him, but at the same time, he might be too costly as well, which means we might have to let him go too, considering he's listed as a second line forward, and there's guys like Cutler and Berkowitz that probably deserve that ice time. There's a couple other UFAs, but there's a lot of RFAs mostly with this team. So at least we have a little bit of leeway with the RFAs, but I am a little bit nervous that our team still will drop off a little bit. But I think we still should have a good defensive core on paper. It's just the offensive core really has been such a mixed bag in the series that it hasn't really produced in the playoffs. So I'm hoping that maybe if we get some better chemistry and stuff like that, we could finally find that goal scoring touch, which obviously hasn't happened, I don't think, at all so far in the series. Or if it did, the last time we had it was when we had Adam Benak still on this team. So anyways, with that said, let's get your guys' comments you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll get into this offseason and see what we're looking like going into 2043-44. So the first comment is from Mike Garbrandt, who says, how is Dave doing in Boston? Feels like the same result after each season. Is it coaching? Is it the right lineup? Kind of crazy to have so much good defense and still let in so many goals. And I don't think it's really the defensive core and the goaltending whatsoever. We aren't really allowing, I don't think, that many goals. Like, if you look at our defensive numbers, obviously, in the playoffs, like, if you look at the plus-minus on a guy like Lee, for instance, in the playoffs, you can see his plus-minus isn't good, but I think it's because the team's not scoring goals, obviously. You go to the goaltending numbers from the playoffs the last number of years, obviously, Simic has been the playoff goaltender for the most part. You can see he's had such fantastic save percentages for the last 4 years, at least. Before then, it was a little bit more maybe of a mixed bag, but he has been a really good playoff goaltender. Just the team doesn't get enough wins. Like a 20-16-9 record posting a 915 save percentage, in my opinion, is pretty insane. Like, he doesn't have the best winning win-loss ratio. We have 9 overtime losses in the playoffs over the last little while. So it just comes down to scoring one extra goal. And we could obviously win these type of games if we had more scoring in the playoffs. So it has sucked a lot that this team hasn't been able to find a way to get Simic and this defensive core some goal scoring support. But I'm hoping that obviously throughout this offseason, if we do some stuff like working on our chemistry on our team, maybe bringing back some former players if there's any free agents that we could afford, hopefully that could help some things, and hopefully this could turn that team into a team that can actually do goal scoring alongside the defense and the goaltending. He was asking also how Dave's doing in Boston, so let's go actually to Boston's roster and see how Dave has been doing since he's left our team. I don't really think our letting go of these two guys really hurt us that much because our team is still such a good team defensively, but looks like Brad Andrews is also in Boston now, which is kind of funny too. So 3 former Europe United players are all in Boston. But if we go to Dave Antonio specifically, he's 35 years old now at this point. He's still been a good rock steady defenseman, but you can see his offense the last 2 years hasn't been the same. But he's now played a total of 6 years in Boston, and our team hasn't gotten much further than it did when he was with him. So Yeah, David Antonio is still looking good, but I think he is probably going to be on the regression path soon. Like, he's going to probably drop down to an exact top 4 soon. I can't see him playing longer than the age of 36, but like I said, yeah, his goal scoring, his point totals, not as crazy as they used to be. Like, 18 points 1 year is a little bit low. 29 points is solid, but obviously he used to pick up like 30 plus points with us back in the day, so yeah, I'm not too sure. Playoff-wise, his stats have been pretty solid, but I don't know if it would have been an impact on our team. Like, it definitely, his offense is better than a lot of our team, which is kind of funny to say that, because he had 6 assists through 12 playoff games, nothing through 5, 5 through 14, 6 through 13, and 5 through 12. So I'm not too sure still if that's justified, considering he's making still 12.89 at this point, but he definitely has a little bit more of an offensive touch, it looks like, in the playoffs, which is definitely something we could have utilized, but at the same time, I don't know if he would have utilized it with our system. Maybe Boston has him in a better spot, like on the power play and that type of thing. And then guys like Josh Urquhart, if we want to take a look at him for fun too, he's been pretty consistent, 20-point guy. Even the totals with us is pretty similar to what he had in Boston. And playoff numbers, he's got good plus minus in Boston as well in the playoffs. So maybe some of these guys would have been good to hold on to, but at the same time, you could look at like the cap rate of Urquhart, 4.37. Those two guys combined at like over 27 million is kind of insane. And then there's Brad Andrews, who I guess recently signed there and is in his first year. Actually got dealt there, so yeah, that's kind of funny. That's kind of funny that they literally have 3 of our top 4 defensemen from the past, but hopefully they all have successful years. Hopefully they win a Stanley Cup if our team doesn't, because at least that will show that some of these guys on this team could actually win games when it matters most. Next comment is from the Grim Reaper 1750, who says, only suggestions I have since the United are needing help in the offense is maybe no matter the age, but mostly the players who are developing until 26, 27 years old, start giving them all season goals during or between recordings to develop abilities. If they get them, it should help with chemistry bonus. Also, developing the weaker stats on players in the offseason / telling centers to work on their faceoffs and snipers to shoot more will help. Plus, if you can't sign them to a RFA offer sheet compensation, might get lucky with a higher draft pick to bring in much needed higher, better talent to revive the team. And I agree. I think with a lot of that, like obviously the offer sheet stuff, I could take that into account for these last few years if you guys think it's something that we could do. Maybe we'll have like a big RFA that could actually get us some compensation. I'm not too sure exactly what the compensation's looking like right now, but maybe there's a player we would take compensation on. If we go to offer sheet compensation, you can see right now, basically, in order to get a first round pick, it would have to be a guy that was making over 6.7 million. So for instance, I guess if Kuda was an RFA this offseason, I think he would maybe fit into that boat, but he's a UFA, so unfortunately we can't do it on him. But we could probably take compensation if you guys think it's something we could do for the last few years of the series. We haven't done it the entire series, but it's definitely something we could throw in as an emergency thing because this team hasn't succeeded up to this point. He was also saying about doing some regular season, like basically stat stuff for these guys. So maybe, for instance, we'll try and get Klinga to start scoring more goals and stuff like that. We could definitely do it with some of the older guys especially, or some of the younger guys that we want to have develop more X factors and that type of thing. So yeah, we definitely could do regular season focuses, and in the off-season focus stuff, like he said, definitely would make sense for a lot of the younger options. There's not really a lot of young guys on this team anymore. Like if we go to our contracts just to look at ages, for guys that would actually matter that he was saying, like basically younger than 27, I think if I'm not mistaken. Richardson we could focus on if we wanted to, but he's already pretty good. Kuda's obviously probably gone to free agency, I would assume, but I'm not too sure on that yet. Appleby we could try and work on some stuff with, but he's also a pending UFA. Then you have Krejci and Mahalik as pending RFAs. We could obviously make Krejci better defensively. Mahalik we could try and work on his offensive awareness or something like that. So same with Berkowitz and Cutler. There is definitely some young guys we could try to focus on to try and get their stats a little bit better, but a lot of the guys are old on this team at this point, so it's not like a lot of these guys are going to develop much more. Some of them are going to actually drop off. So we are going to probably do a lot of off-season focuses and regular season stuff, but I'll probably try and cut it out of the episode because obviously I don't think you guys want me to go through every single player individually and show you guys what I'm doing. Next comment is from the Quiet One, who says, I feel like we are way too late into the series to adjust much of anything. If we can get back some fairly good players, then maybe for now, but I say ride the boat and see what happens. We may need to be smarter on who we pick out and see if they fit our team in a way. Maybe some unusual line adjustments next season will help out, but definitely this series is proving that Europe is a regular season team. If they can actually find that offensive success in the postseason, maybe we have a chance. Simic and the defense are the only two playing in the playoffs, and the offense needs to step up. And yeah, the offense has definitely been the problem, and like I said, I'm not too sure why it is, because our chemistry on our offense, like we've had a plus in the first line, but the rest of the lines are an even zero, so I guess there's not really any statistical advantage with the second, third, and fourth line. So if we could get people maybe fitting our coach's scheme fit a little bit better, I think that obviously could help things in terms of obviously getting us maybe some more offense from other lines, hopefully when it matters most in the postseason, because we don't necessarily need to be a good offensive team during a regular season, but obviously when you're trying to win a Stanley Cup, if you're only scoring 1 to 2 goals a game, it's very tough just to be a full-on defensive team and win the cup, like the New Jersey Devils kind of did back in the 90s. Like, we're not that type of team anymore. It is a lower scoring NHL league, so if we could just find that scoring, obviously that would help us a lot, I think, in terms of winning against some teams that probably don't score that much either. And the last and final comment is from Sour Taco, says, I'm happy to see Seattle win a cup, but the United's result is disappointing. You've done more or less everything you can to get this team over the hump, so you might as well ride that roster as is. Let go of expensive players, bring up the cheaper ones in the system, and go from there. And yeah, we're probably going to be letting go of a lot of good players this offseason. Like I said, Polak probably is gone, which kind of sucks. And we'll probably have to promote some of the younger options just to see if we can get some people to grow and can maybe get this team to the next level. Because there is like some guys I think that could make the NHL this upcoming season. Those being guys like Nold, for instance, on the defensive core. I could see him making it. And obviously us letting go of guys like Ullman, guys like Polak. And then it would basically be a little bit of a younger defensive core in that sense. I also could see a couple other new faces joining our team this season, those being guys like maybe Burroughs as a depth defenseman, or maybe we keep him in the AHL and call him up at some point. Cole Leak might be good enough to be a depth defenseman, but that's probably his peak, I would assume. We also do have Malhotra, who probably will make our NHL as we let go of somebody. He could probably replace Kuda. I'm excited for Malhotra, considering he was a former first-round pick, and he spent a couple of years in the AHL at this point, and has looked pretty good offensively down there. So if he could bring a bit of that to the NHL level, that would be kind of nice, because we don't really have a ton of power forwards in our lineup. And then aside from that, there's not really much else. Obviously, Henry was already in the NHL, yeah, so there's not really much else that will come up. But at the same time, we're hoping that maybe there's some former players in free agency we could bring back on cheap deals that can maybe turn this team around a little bit. But yeah, I think this team is going to start either regressing or we're basically just going to be maintaining ourselves for the rest of the series. Like, I do think this team has it in them to still win a Stanley Cup with our defensive core and our goaltending and a couple of our offensive players, but it really just comes down to if we could get that chemistry good or not. So yeah, hopefully our team can figure it out this offseason and look good for the upcoming year. But I think we're ready to hop into this draft. Obviously, we'll do the offseason focus stuff after the draft and re-sign stage. I think I'll do it. And like I said, I'll cut it out of the episode so you guys don't have to sit through that. And then obviously in between episodes, I'll probably do a season focus stuff. So that way we could get people to hopefully start simulating a little bit better in terms of the regular season and maybe generating some X factors to help out with the chemistry too. So let's see what this draft is like. I'm honestly not too sure what to focus on in this draft in terms of what we want to bring in for prospects, but hopefully we can find some decent players, but at this point they might not even make the NHL too, so it's tough to say. All right, let's take a look again at this draft class. When do we pick? I think it's late in the first round. Oh man, yeah, I don't know if there's going to be much of anything, because like you have a high top 9 that's projected to go super early, which is not ideal, so that means that there's probably not going to be a lot of potential later in the rounds. Also, there was new scouts I need to bring back. I wrote down, I forgot about that on a piece of paper. It's been a bit since we recorded. We probably will end up drafting somebody like Matheson, considering he's a top 6'4" prospect, and could also play both wings, so he's basically like a full-on replacement for Kuda if he develops. I think he'll probably end up being the best option, but there is also a top 4 defenseman if we want defensive help, so we do have a couple early options, but aside from that, the later rounds, we're not going to be probably grabbing too much, so I'm probably going to go through this draft class relatively quick, as long as we can get the players we want. Alright, so with that said, let's get in this draft to see what ends up happening. Anaheim's got first overall, followed by Edmonton, Chicago, the Islanders, and the Wild. Let's see what happens. First overall is going to be Neal going to the Anaheim Ducks, Braden Neal. number 59. He's a power forward and a center. Solid player. All around a really good one. Makes sense considering he's a power forward, but he's the first overall pick in this year's draft. The Oilers at number 2. I'm kind of surprised the Oilers have that high of a pick, but they will take defenseman O'Brien. Caden O'Brien, 79 overall. DFD. All right, right-handed shots, so solid little pickup there. Probably nothing going to be crazy at the offensive level, but a solid defenseman nonetheless. All right, let's see what goes third overall. Third overall, Chicago, what are they going to take? They take Gibson, who's a 73 overall, so a little bit of a lower end guy again. Seems like a lot of these draft classes have been pretty low in terms of overall ratings, so I'm kind of confused why the scoring's been so low the last number of years and why the draft classes have had 73s going in the top 5. Because I thought usually the top 5 is all NHL ready, but I guess not everybody is. But Gibson still will be a pretty good defenseman probably at some point. But he's probably AHL bound? No, he's not even AHL bound. He's probably going to be in junior for another year, I would assume, just because he can't play in the AHL. All right, Islanders at 4. We'll select Osala, 70 overall. So you can see what I mean about these draft classes. Like, has that been a major reason why this NHL is so low scoring? That a lot of the high-end players out of the gate are not ready to make the NHL. Like, Esa Osala probably plays in the AHL next season as a 70 overall at 18, but he's not ready to go for another year at least, which is pretty insane for a guy that's supposed to go to top 5. Like, you feel like most of the time it's top 5s are always making it in this game. In real life, maybe not so much, but I feel like, I don't know, these draft classes have been really weird, and I don't even know why, because it's not like we turned down the quality at all or anything, so. Anyways, let's see what Minnesota grabs at 5. They will select Miettinen, who's a 66 overall medium top 4. This guy shouldn't even be going in a top 5 spot. He probably should be going in a top 10 spot. But that is kind of interesting just to see how weak this draft class is. A lot of defensemen going, though. But let's simulate to our pick and see what we could get at 26th. Maybe we could get something decent here. Maybe not. So let's see what we could snag up here. The best option in terms of order for us is Matheson. I think Matheson probably has to be our pick at this point. Rhys Miller is decent, but I don't feel like I need defensive help as much. I feel like I need to keep on replenishing our forward group and trying to find somebody that could help our scoring out if they do, in fact, develop. So we're going to go for the playmaker, Maxwell Matheson. He looks pretty good in terms of his offensive attributes. Not necessarily the best skater, physical, and defensive player, but we could obviously work on that in his development. I don't know if he'll get signed right away. He'd probably be left unsigned for a year, but let's bring in the Austrian and have him join our team. 66 overall, okay, right around the same point he's supposed to go. He was technically a better overall than Jaguar, who just went before him. This is what he looks like. Pretty solid all around, no real weakness. Yeah, I'd say he's pretty decent. His only weakness, I guess, is his physical attributes, which obviously is only a 1-star physical, but he doesn't need to be physical as a playmaker, really. He's already got a 78 passing rating, and his shot is not that bad, especially his slap shot. Just we need to get, obviously, his offensive awareness and all that stuff better, but he still should be probably one of our best prospects that we currently have at the moment, so I don't mind that pick. All right, let's simulate to our next pick at 59 and see what we can get from here on out, but like I said, the rest of this draft class is probably going to be pretty bad, so I don't really expect us to have much in terms of steals. The next best is this defenseman, Frederick Tkachuk, who is Danish, playing in Sweden. He's probably only a medium top 6D, but he might be the best option. Was there any lowlights in this draft class that I had pinned? No, there was not. Allison's technically the best, maybe in terms of potential. Chad Allison. Every team needs a good Chad, right? Let's see. There's Berard as well. Allison honestly might be the best option here, to be honest. Even though there is an Italian defenseman by the name of Kincaid, which would be kind of cool. Allison, not looking the most insane, but has no weakness. Does have a strength and character, which is always a great thing. Dave Kincaid is a guaranteed medium 6. Yeah, I can't take Kincaid. It would be kind of cool to take an Italian defenseman, but I think it's got to come down to probably Allison or Berard. Berard's a guaranteed medium 9. He's only a grinder, so he's not going to help us much on the offensive front. Tkachuk is more of a two-way defenseman, it looks like. Yeah, he's probably a two-way, but he's also only a medium 6, maybe medium 7th even. So I think just because this guy might help us the most offensively, even though he might be a two-way forward, I'm going to go for Chad Allison with this selection because he might have the highest potential. But he might be only a low 6 or something, but we'll take him. And he's a medium 9. All right, well, that's fine. That's kind of where he was supposed to go. He is a sniper, though, which is good. So we're trying to draft for more offensive players, I guess, just to see if it could help out with us down the road. But he's going to be a good AHL player out of the gate, I think, just because his shooting's already 75s across the board. But his offensive awareness is obviously quite low. But yeah, this draft class, honestly, is looking pretty rough here early on. So I don't really expect us to get anything else from here on out. But we could obviously try and see if there is. Is there any interesting players on this point? There's a low top 9 Italian player, Blake Kim, 5'8", 171, and he's also a sniper. I honestly might just take him at this point because there's not going to be much else for a while. So we might as well go with an Italian. We haven't had an Italian in a while. And I know that Ice Attack and the other Italians in my Discord will like this TLF and all that. So let's go for Blake Kim with this selection as a low 9, 59 overall. Obviously not necessarily an insanely good player, but maybe he could be a good AHL scorer. Maybe get enough growth to become something high up for the AHL team too. But yeah, this is going to be one of the worst classes we've had in a while again. Like, I just don't know why these draft classes have been so low quality. And I know that we're obviously limiting what we could draft, but I feel like we haven't had strong draft classes in terms of depth, in terms of everything. Like, I haven't seen as much low leads in this series as I have in past series, so that's kind of unfortunate. Do I want another goalie prospect, even though he's a backup? I mean, I guess I could just always take one in case. But did I draft some last year? I feel like I did. I don't remember for sure, though. Let me double check on that. I didn't want to go make pick. I want to go to propose trade. Even though we're not making a trade, I just wanted to see how many goalies we have in our system at the moment. Because obviously I might be losing more goalies as these years go on. But I want to see... I don't know why it's trying to still teach me how to play this game, even though I'm like literally almost in the last year of this mode. So Simic, Rizzy's obviously developing. Koch is still here. Bela. We could probably use another goalie prospect. I don't think it will hurt us that much, so... Let's draft another goaltender and go with him. I don't remember where he's supposed to go, though. Was he not supposed to go this round? Oh, no, there he is, Harkins. Yeah, let's go with Harkins. Why not? Jesse Harkins. We'll bring him in as a high backup. I don't think he's really going to develop into much, but if he even gets up to a 70, he could be useful for the AHL, so we'll take him in. For round 5, anything else in this draft, or is this the rest of this crapshoot? Low 7th D. That is an offensive defenseman. Marcus Ehrhoff. I mean, he's an offensive defenseman. Means he could play good at the AHL level, so let's go with Ehrhoff. Sure. Yeah, this is really a rough class. 60 overall is pretty good, but obviously his potential is really trash, so... I think he could be an AHL scoring kind of offensive defenseman, but definitely not an NHL one. All right, couple more picks left to go here. And what has been a very, very low event class. We might as well draft ourselves our first Romanian player, Malik Emmerich. We had a chance, obviously, a number of years ago to get a Romanian, but unfortunately, we didn't get the first overall pick, and then Purrington ended up somewhere else. So maybe that would have been what helped us win a Stanley Cup, is if we would have been able to draft a guy like Purrington, but unfortunately, that was not the case. So anyways, Malik Emmerich, welcome to the team, and he's a 53 overall, but we'll take it. As long as he becomes a good AHL player, that's okay with me. And in the last selection in this draft for us, which has been so bad, is there anybody that actually has good potential that we could still draft? We can't draft Russians, unfortunately. But the best might be another medium bottom 6 in Sulzer. But yeah, this class is absolutely abysmal. Do I want to draft anybody off the board? This guy's going to be probably like an AHL top 6, which is not good, of course. I guess we'll just go for the medium bottom 6, even though at this point he wasn't even supposed to get drafted, so because he is an overager. But Oliver Sulzer, welcome aboard, 52 overall. Yeah, it's definitely a rough class, to say the least. No steals whatsoever in it. The best player being Matheson. The rest of these guys might not make the NHL even. Allison maybe could with medium top 9 potential, but it really depends. The low top 9 and Kim probably doesn't make it, so I think for the most part, like at least 5 of these 7 picks could never make the NHL maybe, in the years that we have left at least. So that's a rough time. but there was not really much else for us to do in that draft. All right. Now we got to get to this re-sign stage, and hopefully we can bring back mostly everybody that we want to. The main UFAs, obviously, I think are going to be gone because they're going to cost us too much, but hopefully we could afford to bring everybody back if we want. And I'm just a little bit worried about, obviously, how much our team's going to drop off in terms of depth this offseason. And like I said, I'm going to be doing some offseason focus stuff in between. I'm going to cut that out, though, so you guys don't have to see it soon. And then also, I'm going to have to sign ourselves the 2 new scouts because 2 of them retired in last episode. So, got to make sure I do that, too. Let's get these scouts back, because obviously our scouts, I don't think we've had a problem with how our scouts have been doing. I think we've drafted some really solid players in the series, but it just never seemed to work on the offensive front. Like, I don't know why our team is not matching our coach that well offensively, regardless of what coach we bring in, because I don't think we've ever had a coach with really good chemistry outside of the top line. Maybe there was a season like that, if you guys could recall, but I don't recall that whatsoever, so hopefully we could find somebody that could do that if I want to bring in a new coach this offseason, which I'm not too sure if I will, but maybe there's a chance we will bring in one. All right, re-sign stage, the most important part of the year. 24.825 in cap space isn't bad, but that's definitely not enough to re-sign a guy like Polak and also the other dudes too, I think. But let's start with our RFAs here, get through the bottom of these RFAs, and I guess we'll just bring back pretty much a lot of the AHL talent just to hold on to for an extra year. Actually, you could get 2-year deals since you're only 23. Why not? I don't mind. And yeah, the NHL RFAs, they're all going to be obviously coming back pretty much, but I hope that some of them are obviously going to be pretty good. Wow, Burroughs wants a one-way deal. I mean, $9.25 for a one-way is not bad, and then he's an RFA again. I might as well do it because I think he's worth $9.25. I think that's fine. Foligno's another RFA defenseman that's kind of competing for a depth level spot. He might be in the AHL again, but we'll give him $9.50 one way. I think that's okay. Mahalik is probably not going to want too much. 1.325. I could talk him down, it looks like, a bit too. 1.2 for 2 years. Honestly, that's not going to break our bank. We might as well hold on to him at that level. Some of these other RFAs I'll probably qualify, like Krejci. 5.55 is kind of high. He would be a UFA within the next 2 years, but I think I'll qualify him, try and get him for a little bit less. Berkowitz, of course, is kind of important for the future, but he only wants a 1-year deal right now. We might as well just do the 1-year deal for the time being because he doesn't want to sign long-term. He does have the organizational interest, which is good for the future. But right now, we might as well sign him up for a year. 3.45 is not going to hurt us that much either. And then Cutler wants 9.2. Why does he want 9.2? He does have a lot of organizational interest. It's only for 4 years, so walking him to free agency. But he did just have a 24-goal season, which is pretty good. He's actually a pretty solid offensive player. I think he could be really useful in the top 6 if we develop him more. But would I be willing to pay him basically the lowest that he'd want with the 4 years is going to be probably too much money, right? 8.35. Yeah, it's going to end up being kind of similar to McElhinney's contract where it might be an overpay. So I think instead of giving him the 4 years, I'm just going to qualify him for the time being. But I would like to get Cutler signed up if we could for long term, but I think he's going to be asking for too much right now. Hextall is still going to be a backup goalie next season. He only wants $9.25, so we'll just give him it. Easy money there. Even though it would walk him maybe to free agency. And in all these UFAs, of course, this is going to be the toughest part about this offseason. I'm going to have to let go of a couple prospects because they aren't developing. This guy even has elite potential, but he's not developing whatsoever. I am going to sign him, though, just because I know I'll get ratted out about if I don't sign him. Rames is saying 65 overall at 20. He's not bad, but I think it's just part of a logjam, so I'll let him go. Polak is a low 7th at 67 at 20 years old. Isn't bad. Does have some actually decent like offensive attributes, but I don't think I'm going to sign this Polak. I think I'm going to let go of this one. Lee's 70 at 20. That's not bad as a medium 9. I'll sign him up just to give us maybe some more offensive players down there. Dolak, I could probably replace him with that dude. So maybe I should let go of an older guy like Retzer. Yeah, you know what? Let's let go of maybe I shouldn't. Let's let go of Dolak instead. Retzer could still be almost an NHL level depth player. So Let's bring him back for 1 year. We'll also bring back Kolik for a year. And he wants 2-way, so he's probably not going to develop more. Miller's an interesting one. Is he still listed as a third-line scoring forward? No, a depth forward. I could bring him back. But he wants 2.3, which is kind of high. He does not have a lot of interest in a 1-year deal, but I don't think I could justify 2 years right now. His asking price, if he's still a free agent, could drop off, so I think I'm going to write down Edgar Miller's name as a potential guy to bring back, again, if he see him still in free agency, because I feel like his asking price is kind of high, but maybe it's not. So Edgar Miller, I wrote down that name. Appleby, what are you wanting? Guess you've been kind of bouncing around a bit. 925 2-way deal. I think I got to still do that. I mean, he might be in the NHL level next season, so a 2-way deal for 2 years at 25 is good for me. But obviously, we got the big UFAs here. Polak, Kuda, and McElhinney. I might be able to afford McElhinney, maybe afford Kuda, and in Polak, I don't think I'll be anywhere close to affording. But also, we need to make sure that we have the money for Cutler and Berkowitz still. So let's advance a day and see if any of our RFAs that we gave contracts to rejected. Because obviously, that would not be good if some of them are rejected, but I think they should all accept for the most part. Looks like Berkowitz accepted, and of course we got some of the AHL ones. Hextall's on board, same with Mahalik. So we're down to $22 million in cap space. Obviously, Krejci is going to cost us probably still like $3+ million at least, because he wants 5, but I think he'll get like 3. Cutler will probably cost us maybe like $6+ million, maybe even 5. UFA from that standpoint, so if we add those two, maybe like $9 million. We still have a lot of money potentially to bring a lot of these guys back. I could maybe afford to bring back Edgar Miller's asking price, but the 2 years is just a bit scary for me. But McElhinney would be a guy that would obviously want some more ice time, but he might not get it. He does like the organization a lot, so I think I got to give him a contract because of that. He doesn't want a lot of money either, so I think this is one of those deals that is kind of nice for us actually right now, is bringing him back for a 1-year deal at 4.8. I don't think that's a terrible contract for what he brings. Obviously, before his contract was quite high. It was over $7 million for what he did. But I think he's just a really useful player in terms of a lot of situations. Can play the power play. Definitely a good penalty killer with his takeaways. So I think we got to bring him back. So we'll definitely do that if he was willing to accept that. So that would knock us down by, I guess, like $13 million. We'd be down to probably our last 9. Which definitely means I think Polak already is going to be asking for more than 9, likely. Yep, he's asking for $14.725 million. God damn, with a full no movement clause. That's insane. He does have organizational interest, which is nice to see that he likes our organization, but the lowest you'd be able to get a guy like that for is probably still like $12+ million. Like, we could probably knock him down to like 12.5, maybe even. But 12.5 is probably worth it for him, but it would eat out most of our cap space. Lee and Paco are making over $12 million. Paco is probably going to be retiring soon. It would be nice to have a little bit of a solidification having Polak back again, but I just think obviously Richardson deserves more ice time. A couple other guys obviously deserve some playing time. So I just don't think I could justify giving Polak that much money. He's going to be probably a future Norris winner, like I said, or close to it. I think he could do really good on a good offensive team. Our team's not good offensively, and he still produces on a pretty good level. So it is going to suck to let him go, but I think he's got to go. There's just no way I could afford something like that. And then Kuda is another guy, too, that is decent. But $8.75 million, and he has organizational interest, but the lowest he'd probably go is still going to be over $7 million. Which, if you look at his production over the last number of years, is 39 points worth $7 million? Probably not. He is a great shorthanded goal scorer and point scorer. You can see he's got 8 career shorthanded goals and 10 career shorthanded points, but throws a lot of hits. Takeaways are pretty good. Like, he's got some good underlining numbers, but I just don't think I could justify bringing him back. Looks like he's pretty physical in the playoffs. I didn't even realize that compared to regular season. But, yeah, I think we need to get some younger guys into the top 6 and top 9 and all that. So, yeah, I think we have to let go of Kuda and Polak. And hopefully there's some former players we could afford to bring back with the other money that we have. So, and we're obviously going to let go of Miller too. So I'm going to write down all their names here. So Kuda, Let's write down his position as well so I remember exactly where he is, and in Pollock as well. I just don't think I could really bring all those guys back. And if there's no former players, we might regress a decent amount. But if we have a one regression season and then we bump back up again, maybe that's not a bad plan. But I don't know if we have enough time to go from missing the playoffs once to making it back again and maybe winning the Stanley Cup. But let's go with that, and we'll advance and see if McElhinney accepts, which I think he should. And then, like I said, we need to make sure we have that money for Cutler, because he's obviously going to be an important piece, I think, for the rest of the series. And we're down to 18 million. Yeah, I think the rest of these guys are going to cost us like at least, I would say probably 9 million combined, maybe 10 million. So like 6 and 4 or something like that. So I'd rather have the $8 million in cap space rather than basically putting us right up against a cap by bringing these type of guys back. So we're going to let every single one of them go. So let's do a little bit of a salute to these dudes. Edgar Miller, solid defensive player, more of an AHL talent at times, but he's actually probably one of the stronger bottom six options we've had. Very disciplined, and his plus minus has been good. And he's a decent player. He had some clutch playoff goals, I think, too, if I remember right. But I am going to let him walk for the time being. If he wants to sign a one-year deal here in the offseason, we could bring him back again. Kuda, as I just mentioned, solid short-handed player, but I just don't think he's worth his asking price right now. Like 39 points and trying to get like $7 million just seems too much to me. He doesn't even shoot the puck a lot either, so we're going to let him walk too. And then, of course, Pollock is the big one. I hope that this doesn't hurt the team too much, but Pollock, like I said, if you win in Norris without us, I kind of knew it was going to come anyways, but I kind of wish I would have had this guy signed up. Like, would we have preferred to have let go of Lee a couple years ago and have Pollock longer term? I'm not sure. I like Lee a lot, though, too, so we just have to eventually part ways with some guys. This guy was such a good steal, though, too. Like 117th overall. He jumped up from the from Czech Republic right to the NHL right away. Like, he completely bypassed the AHL, which is impressive in my opinion. So it does suck to let him go, but I think it's for the best, and we got to free up some cap space, and we're going to just do that. Paco lost morale because of it, which is interesting because both of them are kind of similar roles. And like I said, Cutler and Krejci, obviously these guys are going to cost us a little bit, so we're going to have to wait a little bit on them. I guess I can't do any offseason focuses on them while they're RFAs, I think. So hopefully we can get them signed up here relatively soon. But let's assimilate to the free agency portion here. And then I'm going to have to look and see if there's any former players in free agency. Or should I wait till the start of the season? I could look already. All right, let's look at it right now. And then, like I said, I'm going to obviously do some offseason focus stuff after this. But let's see if there's any former players and also if there's any interesting coaches out there, too, to bring back. But, yeah, Pollock's going to be the big name free agent. He actually doesn't even want an 8-year contract as a free agent. He only wants 4 years. But there is Pollock, of course. We just let go of goaltending. There is Ambull. Yeah, how's Ambull been since leaving us, actually? Okay, Nashville was playing pretty strong, makes sense because they were a good team. But there is the Ambull. Not like we're going to bring back a former goalie anyways, but still might as well look and see if there's any interesting players. Right defenders, anybody that used to play with us. Not that we'd bring back a defenseman, probably. It'd be more of a forward, if anything. Not seeing anybody. What about left defenders? Obviously, there's Pollock. Wonder where he's going to go. Krejci's... Wait, is this our Krejci? He's an RFA right now? Yeah, it is. Okay, he jumped up to a 79, so yeah, he's... Actually, no, he already was a 79. He's pretty solid, I think, but I don't want to be paying him $5 million. What about forwards? Right wingers? Not really seeing any former players, which is not great. Hey, look, there's Zach Packard. Or Pack Zackard, as I called him, for fun. Yeah, I'm not really seeing former players, unless my brain is just bypassing them, but there's Kuda, of course. Colors are RFA. Yeah, this looks like a pretty bare free agent class for former players, which kind of sucks because I was hoping I'd be able to maybe bring some people back, but we might have to wait till next offseason or something like that. I guess a lot of the guys that we've let go of have been so good that they get signed for long-term deals for the most part. But last year, I think there was a decent amount of free agents, if I remember right, that used to play with us. Who's Raymond again? I recognize that name, Pat Raymond. Columbus. Oh, okay, I think it's from some matchups we've had. Oh, there's Barrett. Rich Barrett's a free agent. He's not bad, but he's kind of listed as a third-line scoring forward, which is a bit too high. Has played pretty good in Utah, 38 points in 82 games. Did make the playoffs, 3 assists for 7 games, but yeah, I can't bring him back because he's listed as a third-line scoring forward. It's basically the same type of thing as why we let go of Miller, but I wouldn't mind still bringing back Miller if he wants a 1-year deal relatively soon, just to help us out with that depth a bit. Yeah, I don't see any former players really whatsoever, so that kind of sucks. So yeah, next thing we're going to do is look for coaches just to see if there's any other coaches that could be intriguing. Obviously, we have all our NHL coaches right now, but I could temporarily demote, I guess, Verada to an AHL associate coach, and then we could try and get another one in as an assistant coach, and then we could see if he's a better fit as a head coach. But we might as well try and continuously make our coaching staff as good as possible. Is there anybody that maybe fits this team good? 53, 50. Is there anybody like in the 60 plus range? 56 for Buzik. It's not bad. 61 for this Olesh guy, but he's only a B. Doesn't have good defensive ratings, but has okay offense. Power play and penalty kill aren't bad. Teaching grade's not terrible. Influence is an A+. That's actually nice to see that influence so high. I like the 61% fit with the players that's listed already. I'm going to bring this guy in just for an option, just to see if he actually fits our team. He's not going to want that much, and he's also a guy that's kind of wanting this role. He's not an A+ coach, but he could be still a guy that impacts our staff a little bit, maybe, because he actually works well with our team. So we'll bring him in, and we'll see if that works out or not. Now I'm going to make a quick cut. It's going to take me a while, but I'm going to go through and do some off-season focuses on some of the younger players, and then I'll get back to you guys in a second. Okay, guys, so we got all the off-season focus stuff done on the younger players. I didn't do any of the older players because to me it just doesn't make sense because a lot of these guys aren't going to be developing at this point in time, but a lot of the younger guys have been focused on like offensive awareness and face-offs and passing and all that type of thing. So hopefully that works out a little bit. We do also have a couple other players we still have to do it for, but obviously we have to wait for Cutler and for Krejci to accept their contracts. So hopefully that doesn't take much longer. I'll probably simulate a month and see if they want to accept or they want not that much money, and then we'll bring them back and get those guys done as well, because obviously these guys are younger on our team, so they are pretty important, especially Cutler, I would say, because obviously we need that goal scoring touch. So we'll focus on those guys in a little bit. We got everything else, I think, pretty much dealt with for this offseason. So the next thing only that needs to be done basically to try and improve our team is obviously in between episodes. Once I get to the start of the regular season, I will need to try and get our team to start fitting our coach a little bit better and give them also some season goals to try and achieve. So we'll do that, and probably, like I said, I'll probably do that in between episodes. But let's see if we can get these RFAs accepting, because obviously, like I said, Cutler's a very important piece kind of to this team. He's kind of jumped up a lot in our depth chart in the last year or so. Olesh does not want the contract I gave him, so I need to give him another contract, that assistant coach. I'd like to just bring him in, even though, like I said, he's a B-rated coach. I know technically B-rated coaches don't simulate as good as A+ rated coaches, but it'd still be good maybe to have him on our coaching staff, considering he's a 61% fit. So hopefully he's still there, which he is, so that's good to see. Let's bring you back as an assistant and just give you more money. I don't want to give you 8 years. Jesus, I don't know why the heck that just happened, but whatever. Let's go back to assist. Was it assistant? Yeah, it was assistant. That's what I thought. But yeah, maybe this guy could be a head coach for this team, but I think for the most part, we're not trying to get him in as basically a head coach, but I think he could just still help with things a little bit. There's not a lot of good coaches that are like above 60 for us, so I think he could be just one of these guys that just like helps solidify that coaching staff a bit more. I don't really know if I would blame our coaches fully on why this team doesn't simulate well. I think it's just the team doesn't match the coaches that we've been finding. So it's about finding that needle in a haystack, which so far we have not found a remotely close coach in like the last like 5+ seasons. Because Andre Tourigny made us simulate good during the regular season too, but then when it came to playoffs, he didn't really do much. I don't really like the makeup of your roster, but I'll do my best to accept or to deal with what I am given. I accept. This guy doesn't like our roster, but he'll come to us because we paid him. That's kind of disappointing that he doesn't like the makeup of our roster. It is what it is, sir. You're going to have to come in and help us out. Maybe be part of the solution, not the problem. This team has been a regular season wonder. Playoffs have been absolutely trash. So let's see if Miller's still a free agent, just because maybe we could use him as a depth forward if he is the one. Looks like he signed somewhere already. Damn, that's crazy that somebody was actually willing to give him that much money. Maybe I should have went 3 weeks at a time or something, but yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to bring him back, I guess, which means our depth is probably going to look pretty trash, but maybe sometimes you just need to look a little trash to be actually beautiful to somebody else. All right, let's see how our RFAs are dealing with, because I'd like to give them some contracts. Cutler, what are you wanting now? A 1-year deal at 6.775. That's probably good for me, but I'm just going to talk you down a little bit more just for the time being. But I think we're going to eventually at some point have to give him a long-term deal. And I'm hoping that some of the big names retire, so that way I can justify doing it. Krejci, 2 years, he wants 3.2. I'm okay with giving him a 2-year deal, even if he walks into free agency. But obviously I wasn't going to be willing to pay him $5 million. So 2.95 for 2 years, I think that's solid for a top 6 defenseman. Obviously there's guys maybe pushing him out of the lineup, but we got to have a little bit of depth to our defensive core, so let's do that. And that should get those guys to accept, which if they do accept, we'll do some off-season focuses on them. I'll let you guys see that, so then you guys can see me working on them a little bit. But yep, Cutler is accepted, and same with Krejci. That's good. Let's go to that off-season focus stuff, because I think I should be able to work on them now. Yep, there you go. Perfect. Just because these guys are still super important to the depth of this team. So Cutler, we're going to work on, I think his shooting was pretty good, but I don't remember how good his offensive awareness is. You know what? Let's go new topic, and we'll come back and talk to you in a second here, Cutler. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to drag you into my office just to basically tell you, hey, I need to look at your stats again. Where is his biggest weakness for Cutler? He's an 83 at 22. 93 offensive awareness, so he doesn't really need work in the offensive awareness. His shooting's already 4-star, which is good. But I think his shooting could still improve even more so. So I think we'll work on his shooting, even if it is a 4-star. His offensive awareness is already good enough to be a really good NHL player. So I think we'll do that for him. What about actually for Krejci? What about for Krejci? Let's take a look at Krejci here. Already good defensive stats, solid offensive awareness, but not really anything else offensively. Like he could definitely pick up points if he got maybe better shooting. But we could maybe improve his passing a bit. 75 passing is not necessarily that great. So let's do that for those guys. So we'll get Cutler better in shooting, and we'll get Krejci better at passing the puck a little bit more. I think that would be good. So we'll go with, I could try and get him to shoot more and shoot in terms of a shot frequency so he scores more goals. But let's just try and get his shooting pumped up a bit more. There's definitely still some room for improvement being a 4-star shooter, but if he becomes a 5-star shooter, he could be one of our best goal scorers we've had in a while, so I think that's a good thing. And then Krejci, like I said, I think even though he's technically a DFD, having 75 as a passing is quite low, so I am going to try and get his passing to improve a little bit if we can. It just says pass more, which obviously we want more just working on his passing, but I guess I could work on his awareness or skill training, his puck skills. Let's go skill training. Why not? I'll try and get him to work on that a little bit just to try and get some offense to him, even though he's a DFD. All right, so everything I think is ready to go. I think our depth is going to be probably way worse than we expect. But let's begin the sim up to next season, get our team set up, at least 5-on-5. And then we'll see if there's any former players that have signed anywhere. And I think that might be it at that point. But well, maybe actually look at the draft class too for fun. But yeah, this roster is going to be a complete mixed bag, I think, on paper. So let's go to edit lines here, and let's do our roster moves as we typically do. Let's see if we could get some good chemistry. If we can't, of course, maybe we'll still look at some other coaches and stuff. But in terms of our goaltending options, obviously it's going to be still Simic and Hextall. In terms of the goaltending in the AHL, right now we have Koch there, but we'll call him up as a third string option. Bela and Rizzi. are actually pretty good as fringe starters. Actually, Rizzy's a medium elite, so that kind of makes sense. But Bela's grown to, an NHL backup almost too. So those two guys could be very solid for the future of this team. I mean, I am going to be still holding on to Simic still for a while, I think. How much is he signed for? Still 3 more years. But Hextall and Koch could potentially leave in the upcoming offseason. And then we could use one of these lower-end guys as a backup, so that's not bad. From a defensive standpoint, we have Lee, Paco, Powell, Richardson. Ullman has been called up, which I didn't really remember that he was still with us. I thought he was a pending free agent, but I guess not. We have Nold, we have Krejci. Foligno's dropped down to a 75, but he's listed still as a medium 6. I would like to get Nold in the lineup for sure. I think I'm going to send down Ullman. Yeah, I'm going to send down Ullman for the time being, because he's a bit older. I'd like Krejci and Nold to both be playing. Foligno would have to be the depth defenseman. Burroughs is technically also there. Kolik could be a depth defenseman as a 76. Yeah, I don't mind having Kolik up there, so I think I'll call up Kolik. Even though technically there's a bunch of NHL-ready defenders in the AHL, this just gives us a bit more depth going into the playoffs, and at least these guys get some playing time. So, yeah, we'll go with that. So basically then that way we have 4 right-handed defensemen, which is kind of insane, but we'll have like Lee Paco still. We have Powell Richardson as a second pairing, Nold and Krejci. Basically everybody would be more so in the roles. Nold and Krejci are technically top 4s, which is not great, but I think they'll get a lot of penalty kill time specifically because they're both DFDs. So I'll take it. From an offensive standpoint, Hromis, Nakamura, McElhaney, Malhotra, and Appleby. Appleby is listed as a third-line scoring forward as a 77. When I signed him for 2 years, I was hoping he would actually be listed still as a depth forward. God damn it, man. And then there's Savon. All right, we do still need another depth forward up here, I guess, technically. So I could call up Savon as an option, but we'll see. What else did we got here? Klinga, Cutler, and Brookwitz looking solid. Cutler's listed as a first liner as an 84. Why is he already listed as a first liner? I am definitely going to be paying him some big money in the offseason, I think, coming up. And you guys could let me know if it's justified to do a long-term deal with him. Depends on, I guess, how he does. And then we also have Rankin, Green, Mahalik, and Henry as the centers. And then, obviously, there's Retzer and Fritzner. Who do I want to use as the depth option as the forward? It's got to be either Savon or Retzer. Retzer is obviously a 30-year-old at this point. Has never played an NHL game. Maybe he'd be an okay guy to call up. He has been a good AHL scorer for his entire career. Does have okay shooting. Offensive awareness is decent. He's a sniper. There's Savon, who's a 2-way forward with decent defensive awareness. Has had some good offensive numbers as well in the AHL. And he's only 27. There's also Furchner, though, too. Our AHL is actually lacking a lot of forwards. I did not even realize that, so I should probably have brought back some other dudes. Maybe I could look at the unsigned and bring some of them in. But Furchner is 25 and a sniper, not good defensively. Good offensive numbers again. Technically, I would go for the youngest option, but I think I might go for Savon because he's better defensively. But we should probably bring somebody in that could help us out offensively, hypothetically. So I guess we'll bring Furchner up as that depth option. And then, like I said, I think we might have to sign some unsigned guys for the AHL just basically to fill it out. Because right now there's only 7 forwards in the AHL. So the AHL needs 5 forwards. And then they have enough defensemen, I think, right? They have 6 defenders. Okay, so yeah, they're good on defense. They don't need another unsigned guy signed. So yeah, we just need to bring in a lot of former are basically unsigned dudes, if possible, for the AHL. All right, in terms of our lineup, what do we want to work with? Hromis, Rankin, and Klinga. I would rather go Hromis, Green still in Klinga, but Rankin could work too. Who's a better fit on that top line, technically? Green is. A better fit on that second line over the first line. Yeah, I guess we'll go with Green second line then. Cutler would be on the second line with Nakamura. Ooh, we can get +1 on the second line if I move Klinga down, but then it gets rid of the chemistry on the top line. So I guess that would be our second line. Berkowitz probably should be higher in the lineup, hypothetically. But Nakamura's the first line forward as an 82. I don't even understand why some of these guys are rated that high up. That's so weird. Mahalik could definitely be higher than Henry because of the offensive stats. Malhotra, I feel like, should probably be in the third line as a rookie. but there's not really anybody I can move around. Malhotra is actually a really good fit for this fourth line. I think I'll probably keep him on the fourth line, but I think we're going to obviously be giving him some power play time. So yeah, I think, yeah, we'd have basically 9 forwards that need to be on the power play, which I guess hypothetically we could have a power play unit of 5 forwards and then another power play unit that has a couple defenders. Yeah, we should be fine with 9 forwards. Just need obviously another 2 players or 1 player. Yeah, 1 more player that would be on the power play. Actually, I don't know if I can get him power play time. Maybe I'll have to do full-on PK time for McElhaney instead of the power play. But Furchner being in the lineup probably is not what I wanted, so I'd prefer obviously to get Appleby into the spot, but I know he's going to lose morale due to ice time, but at least he's going to be playing in the lineup, so he shouldn't complain too much. Malhotra's a good shooter, so I think I'm going to swap his side for him. Appleby could be on that right side. And then from a defensive standpoint, Lee Paco, Krejci and Powell I didn't really want. I wanted Powell and Richardson, even though they're both right-handed shots, I think. And then we'll go with the 2 shutdown defenders on this pairing, which is Nold and Krejci, I think I said. Yeah, Nold and Krejci. All right, defensive core still looks pretty solid, of course. Not really surprised, though, and goaltending looks good, but these are our depth options, not necessarily the most craziest things in the world. AHL, like I said, they had to sign us a bunch of filler options. They actually have some of our defenders playing forward. I just realized, like Kohane. So, yeah, I think we need to sign ourselves some of our unsigned dudes. Loktionov was just a guy that they put into our roster, drafted by the Florida Panthers. Vorobiev, yeah, we got to probably, there's also Emmelin, that's not ours. Zeiler? Oh, it is ours. Okay, I was going to say, I don't know if I remember him. All right, yeah, so we definitely need to sign some of our unsigned dudes, I think. But our chemistry is still not great on our forward group, which isn't ideal. But let's go to our unsigned group and see if there's anybody I would bring in. You guys could actually let me know. I'm not going to actually do it in this episode, but would you sign any of these dudes for the AHL right now? Would you sign like the guys with good potential, or would you rather just let them wait unsigned? Because the AHL team at this point isn't super important right now. But obviously we want still some guys to develop. So we could sign guys like Belak if we want to get him into the AHL. He was a first rounder last year. Matheson obviously from this year. So you guys can let me know if we should bring any of these guys in to fill out the AHL club, or are we okay just with the way it is? Aside from that though, what was it that I wanted to look at? Oh yeah, I wanted to go to the coaching staff, see if there's a way to improve our offensive chemistry. Like if I was to basically demote Wallin for a second here and make the guy I just hired as a B coach, our head coach, would he improve our chemistry a lot offensively? I know he's not necessarily the most insane coach, but no, he would not. No, he would not. Defensive chemistry looks still the exact same. I don't know why we can't find a coach that gives us chemistry good. It just seems so weird. Seems so weird. So we'll obviously go back to Olesh as the assistant just because he's the lowest end coach we have. Wallin back as head coach, but Wallin is a 66% fit. It's not bad. I don't know if there's any better options out there, though. Let's see. Roosevelt, 58. Anybody above a 66? No. Yeah, we're going to have to scheme fit our players to our coach, I think. There is this guy, but he's a 67, and he is a B- coach, which is not ideal. So I think our thing to do in between episodes is try and get all these players to fit our coach and also give them season goals so they can maybe develop a bit better. Last thing we got to do, because this episode is getting kind of long and this also has to go out the day you guys are seeing this, let's briefly take a look at, I guess, first where our former players signed, and then we'll also take a look at the draft class a little bit, but obviously we aren't going to know too much about it. So let's start off with Kuda. And then we will go to Edgar Miller. And then, of course, to the big boy in Polak. But Kuda signed with the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, he signs with a team that's in our conference. Actually, is he in our conference? I don't even remember. But 84 at overall, 26. He's getting a 5-year deal at 8.265. No clause involved, but still a bit of a steeper contract. Like I said, I was not going to pay him that type of money. But knowing him, he's going to have a good offensive season just because he's left our team. So shout out to Kuda in Montreal. Aside from that, Edgar Miller, obviously one of the guys I could have brought back as a depth option, I think would have been decent, but I just didn't know if I wanted to give him multiple years. He also signed with the Montreal Canadiens, all right, and he signed a 1-year deal at 1840 or 1.84. I would have definitely signed him to a contract like that, but we probably simulated too far in free agency to not get him on that. But he is still listed as a third-line checking forward, so he would have probably demanded more ice time and all that, but kind of funny that both him and Kuda signed with the exact same team. Lastly, there is also Polak. Did he sign in Montreal as well? Hopefully not. Let's see. He signed in Chicago. All right. So he's off to the Blackhawks. He signed a no movement clause deal worth $15.090. God damn, for 4 years only though. So it isn't a long-term deal, so maybe we could get him back at the very end of the series. But $15 million is very high. It's going to be interesting to see what he could do for that Blackhawks team now. Because maybe his offense takes it to a new level. Like, he's got literally the best offensive awareness and passing almost, and defensive awareness, that he should be a really good player. But it's really tough to say if he'll actually do well offensively. I guess he's technically going to be the number one defenseman there, so he probably should. All right, last thing we got to take a look at the draft class briefly. I'm going to go through this relatively quickly because we don't really have a lot of time. This episode's been very long. But it looks like we're going to have actually a lot more options to us maybe early on because McMillan and Calder are supposed to go decently early. Same goes with Rita and Niederberger. So looking decent there. McMillan obviously is a first round talent, so maybe he's a guy we could draft if we draft late again. In terms of Switzerland, this guy's supposed to go second overall. So if we were absolutely to tank this year, Esteban Goldman would be great, but I don't know if we will. Conklin's supposed to go 17th first round. That's just good. I think there's definitely more options for us this year. Looks like some of these leagues were pretty bare last year, but I think we're seeing more early on. The Extra Liga, there's another first round talent, couple second and third rounders. But I'm seeing a lot of more options for us in each of these leagues so far, which is nice. Austria, not as crazy as a few years ago. Not any of these guys are supposed to get drafted, but we'll pin them all just because we can draft them. Sweden has a Polish guy supposed to go 5th overall. God damn it. Of course, there's literally 2 guys in the top 5 that would be draft eligible for us in a year where we are maybe going to drop off a bit, but probably not enough that we get a top 5 selection in it. But there is options for us in a lot of these leagues, more than there's ever been, which is great because maybe this is the draft we could find some late steals in, but it might be too little too late unless they develop quick. But Finland, there's another Polish guy first round. Love to see it. Norwegians as well. Maybe there'll be somebody in the rest of the world. That'd be kind of nice, but we haven't seen one yet in the series. I did see that, what was it, on Reddit, that somebody had a North Korean player, so I'm hoping that we could still get a North Korean at some point, but I don't know if that will happen before the series ends. Let's see, Russia, any options for us from Poland in here too? No. All right, that's surprising. Rest of the world, nobody. Damn. So there is definitely some decent young players in this draft class. Like I said, Goldman and Rippin would be players we could actually take. But unfortunately, I don't think our team's going to fall off that much where we're going to be drafting that high up. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our European United Draft Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, I'll hope that our team can find a way to get some more chemistry if we try and scheme fit our players to our coach. If that works out a bit, maybe we'll actually start to score more goals, especially in the playoffs. I think this team is still good enough to make the playoffs, especially with some growth from Cutler and all that, but obviously a little bit nervous on terms of how the season is going to go. So listen down below, and I'll see you guys next time.